I lean back like this. Is that better? I'll review like that from now on. Add on. Do it like this. Red sleep reviews. It's Oscar season, and I guess like every year I kind of try to watch every Oscar nomination, and I really haven't been keeping up on anything. The Oscars aren't nominated yet, but when they do it, it's usually only about a month or so before the Oscars, so it's like, well, I gotta get on it. Also, I was reviewing them every year for the last like 3 years on my blog, but I've decided to let my blog just die. It should just die. So I'm gonna review them on here now. Like, I'm not like a super fan of the Oscars or anything. I kind of like to see just who wins, really. And I rarely agree with who wins Best Picture. Sometimes I do, like when Parasite won a few years ago. But I usually think that they usually gather up some of the best pictures and some of the best movies of the year. And I always think that like somewhere in there, the best picture of that year hides, basically. I got a text message or something. Nobody ever texts me. I don't have any friends. So the Oscar nominations don't come out until Tuesday, but I thought I'd just get like a little head start, and randomly guess and hope that maybe Raya and the Last Dragon will be nominated for Best Animated Picture, maybe a technical award or something. But if it's not, I wouldn't be surprised. Anyway, I guess that segues into my review of Raya and the Last Dragon, which I thought was pretty good, actually. It was set in a different world where there's like this huge river that looks very much like a Chinese dragon that flows through every kingdom in this land. And every kingdom is named after the part of the dragon that they're nearest. Like Fang is up near the head and Tail is at the tail. It's usually pretty obvious where it is. I thought it was pretty good. It was like different for Disney. I don't really recall. I guess Mulan. Them using like Asian cultures as an influence. There's probably others. I'm just not thinking clearly. I guess I'll talk about the problems first, or the problems I had. First off, I felt the story was kind of just meh. Pretty lackluster in those regards. Could have been better. Could have had a lot more stuff. Okay, it had this like feel that like if you ever heard like a 6-year-old try to tell you a story, not like something that happened to them, but like a fairy tale maybe or something they're making up. Okay, and they're just like, oh, and there was a spaceman and he went into space and an alien attacked him, but it was okay because he's a spaceman and they're trained for that or something. And then a meteor tried to attack and he had to stop the meteorite, and just like it just kind of felt like that. Just like they go somewhere and then this happens and then they have to do this because of it, and then that's over, so then they go somewhere and this happens. So it was just like random things happening throughout the whole movie. That was a whole movie of just like, it was just like things happening at random, sometimes for a reason, but for the most part, no, there wasn't a reason. It did need to have a reason, I guess. I think it's just a bit all over the place for the most part. Like that's probably the biggest problem. Just the story is kind of all over the place, and it just needs a little focus. It's just some of the things, it's like they get this party together, but I don't care about any of them at all except for like the two main people, because they're the people we've been following the whole time. One of which is a dragon. And then just like the other people just like show up and just like, yep, we're okay, we'll join your crew, we're along for the ride now, practically. I mean, like there's some reason behind it, but it's not enough to make these people count. And I almost would have preferred them just being kind of like cool side characters instead of being like, oh, now you're part of this group, and it's it's like an official thing whenever it happens or whatever. The humor I also felt was pretty lacking some of the time, not all of the time. Some of the jokes I felt landed pretty well, but like a lot, I don't know, there were a lot of points I was just like, that's not a joke. Essentially, they like say something that's kind of amusing or whatever, but I just say that's not a joke, there's no punchline. I did like the character of Raya, I like the character of Raya, but I like the dragon character better. I don't remember her name. She was a fun character pretty much throughout the whole movie, and It was just nice seeing her almost, or like it was just fun to watch her on screen or do her thing, and just being a dragon. A lot of this movie, especially within like the first half hour, I almost felt like it was based on a video game or something. It just felt like it was using a lot of tropes from video games. I mean, I noticed a few just from like Final Fantasy kind of. Oh, they do this thing too that's like they do this and hold it up, and it just made me think of like the Final Fantasy ball thing that they do, because everything's a sphere in Final Fantasy X. I mean, in Final Fantasy X, the prayer symbol, but here it's like that. It was just like, what? No, and like at one point everyone turns to stone except like Raya gets away and just like everyone turns to stone. It's like, oh, they need a super soft like in Final Fantasy IX. Oh, and like at one point they're like gathering these rocks and they're like, oh, they're these dragon crystals, and like, is this basically materia? And they kind of was, but not exactly. That's from Final Fantasy VII. Too. It was just like different things. Like I feel like the writer just played a lot of Final Fantasy and then wrote this movie over a weekend or something. It just felt like something like that. And like the whole like world building and everything, and like every section being like named after a different part of that just felt like a video game trope almost. Like it felt like a video game, or it felt like someone almost made a video game and then decided last second like, no, let's make a movie or something, just just like the tropes and feel of it. And that's actually to its detriment too. This video game feel. Oh, there's like one point that they encounter this creature that has like a glowy thing on its back, and she's like, that's a toot and shoot or something, and because like when it farts it like explodes like the fart does, not the creature. And it just felt like the whole thing, that the name and what the creature does, just felt like a video game trope, like something out of Ratchet and Clank or something like that. It was just like distracting, I would say, more than anything else. The video game parts that like kind of took me out of it, made me suspend my disbelief. I mean, not that I need much belief to watch a cartoon, basically. I guess that's all I thought was bad. And some of it's not like too bad, just kind of weird, like the video game stuff or the lackluster humor. I mean, it's not like really meant to be like a humorous story, I don't think. Definitely a little more serious or more like anime actiony type of stuff. The parts I thought that really worked well was definitely the action, and it's kind of weird because like the action had like a better story to it. Whenever action started happening on screen, like the story was suddenly like a lot better, I think, just because everything was moving so much quicker, and things need to happen a certain way. Like the action always makes sense, and that was surprising because most of the rest of the story kind of doesn't make sense, or like things just happen so randomly that it's just nonsense basically. But then the action starts happening, and so then it's like, oh, this is great. It's kind of weird just because like it's like the opposite of Black Widow. Just because I feel like the action, every time action starts happening, it like takes me out of the story, which the story is great in that. But then the action happens and the action's really cartoony. This is like the opposite of that. Just that the story's like lacking unless there's action happening on screen, then the story is good. just for that moment, just for that scene or whatever. But the action's really good. It's like really kind of like I said, anime-esque, and in that way that like it's really like planned out and well thought out, and you can see every aspect of everything that's happening. None of that Looney Tunes where where things are always blocking out the screen or whatever, or some actual live action movies where things are always blocking out the screen or whatever, or things are happening so fast you don't know what's going on. No, this is always very clear and very well done, and very impressive. I was very impressed. If you could nominate an animated movie for best choreography or whatever you'd call it for action scenes or something for that, I don't know if they have a category. Best fight choreography. Well, there should be. Nominate this for it. Well, I guess that's it. I'm trying to think if there's anything else I want to say about this film. I liked it, but there were parts I didn't like. That's not a review. I guess I'll rate things. I'll give it a 7 out of 100. No, just like a 7 out of 10, I think. Just because the actions really do elevate it, and the animation's really good too. And I like the music. It's not a musical, but the like whatever you call it, the music to go along with the action scenes and all that stuff. It's really good. That stuff. The story's a bit lackluster. The humor's lacking, but there's still some funny bits. If action was more the focus, it would be a lot better, I think. But yeah, I'd probably give it a 6.5 or a 7. Okay. If you like seeing my reviews, even these El Cheapo ones where I'm just talking at the screen, please like and subscribe, and always feel free to make suggestions. I'll try to review anything anyone suggests at some point.